Middle Ages, the Church of God is a large feudal powers in Western Europe, have very tight organization system. The highest leadership body of the Church is holy by the Roman Pope. The country have a national church subordinated to the Holy See. And the hierarchy was very pronounced. Headed by the Pope. By the Council of Cardinals elected. Next is Cardinals appointed. Further is the Archbishop also appointed. In addition, bishops were appointed. And finally, the priests are also appointed. The Church is very influential and powerful economy. There is a lot of land in the country. The church and monastery exploitative farmers. Besides, rents, the farmer has to pay tax 1/10 for the church. The church is selling holy pictures, exotic relics, selling exonerated paper, organizing festivals, encouraging believers to Roman pilgrimage, increasing income. Thanks to abundant financial resources, the church has built many magnificent churches and ornately decorated. The missionaries lived a very rich and no sex. Catholic Church commanded the secular government of many Western countries. The king of the Western European countries as well as believers. Based on the religious prestige to take command. At the end of the 11th century, Pope Gregory VII, 1073–1085, set out the principle of the Roman Church founded by God, absolutely no mistake, papal authority covering the whole world, the Pope location higher authority of kings have the right. Pope deposed king. Some Western European monarchs had to succumb to the power of the papacy. Tomb of Pope Gregory VII. In the main church. Building in Salerno. The church also is a powerful ideological manipulation, preventing the development of culture, especially of the natural sciences. All manifestations of progressive ideas, but contrary to the Bible, are banned. In summary, early 16th century, when capitalism was born, the bourgeoisie has appeared in Western Europe, the Church of God remains solid prop of feudalism and the resistance forces or the development of capitalism. From the 14th century, Wycliffe, 1320–1384, a priest and professor of Oxford University in England, had initiated religious reforms, denying the role of the Pope. The government proposed nationalization the Church's land. Wycliffe giving the poor priests his translation of the Bible. In early the 15th century, John Hus, 1369–1415, rector of Charles University in Prague, Czech Republic, and campaigning church reforms. His ideas is strongly opposed the sale of paper acquitted, exposing the immorality of senior clerics. In 1415, he was the Catholic conference in Constance, Germany, processors burnt. Paintings Jan Hus at the Council of Constance painted by Václav Brožík, 1883. John Wycliffe at work in his study. This is the picture described Jan Hus on the pyre. Area map Hus was burned at the stake shape. Prepare executed Jan Hus. The century 15, the last of the century 16, in Germany there are also a number of people as Erasmus, 1467–1536, Heathen, 1488–1523, written several works to expose the lie, greed, ignorance of the clergy. To the beginning of the 16th century, religious reform movement officially took place in 3 places, Germany, Switzerland, and England. From the 12th century, the power of the Christian churches is very strong. The assets of the Pope increased rapidly thanks to cross-church funds, collection of taxes and tribute, bankers' bank. The main income is the selling cards exonerated. Church propaganda: if purchasing card exonerated will be pardoned, sold a lot of card. Church earned big bucks. Pope has a lot of money, many land, living in luxury, depraved. In Germany, the Christian church raging strongest. Occupy 1/3 of the field here. Find ways consolidate the outcome of any sand Germany. Weakened central government. Plundered, pillaged. Emperor of Germany relies on the Pope to carry out wars of aggression. Pope and the Church find ways exploiting the people of Germany. Cash transported from Germany to Rome so much. Otherwise, people starve, the urban poor have no employment, bankruptcy, minor aristocracy, clergy, material deprivation. All classes of people directly or indirectly Germany resentment Roman Church. Engels commented, thanks to the authority and the numbers of the clergy, the taxation of the Church has gained steadily and tight in Germany than any other country. The response of the people in Germany for the most powerful church in Western Europe. Contradictions between the masses with the Church in Germany developed panned. The movement against the Catholic Church in Germany has erupted. Erasmus Desideratum Erasmus Rotterdams, October 27, 1466 July 12, 1536, sharply condemned the feudal wars, criticism of dogma and ritual nuisance over works extolling the madness, Lob der Torment, 1509. Bronze statue of Erasmus in Rotterdam. It was created in 1622 by Hendrik de Keyser, replacing a stone statue of 1557. Hutton von Ulrich harshly criticizing the Church, hope there's a struggle against the Pope. Jan Hus advocated reform of the Church. The professors and college students mocked the Church storage of Church and Christian vehemently criticized, in his book The Faith of Stupid. Exposing the ignorance but crafty of clergy, mocked the statue of cult ideology and how the commentary provided in matters of Catholic clergy. The early 16th century, the Reverend Martin Luther, 1483–1546, conducted the campaign of religious reform. Luther is the daughter of a mountain farmer Thuringen, southern Germany. His father from miners became wealthy in the oil companies. Luther studied law in the University of Eckfuja and then became a monk. In 1509, he was a professor of philosophy and theology in the University of Wittenberg. When Luther is a Augustine friars. Wittenberg Castle church door, which hung 95 theses Luther onset reform. Wartburg Castle room, where Luther translated the New Testament into German. The first edition of the translation is placed in the drawer of the desk. The Luther Bible 1534. Humanistic thought and the Christian critique of this period was the strong influence to Luther. From responding to become a proponent of religious reform. He still believe in God, believe in salvation. Oppose things, ceremonial complex. And advocated the rescued people by faith. So that, Luther deny the role of the Catholic Church, second building of religious individualism. Luther criticisms of the caste order complexity, costly facilities, sexual activities, and the regime of the feudal land possession of the Church. He researched and advocated forms of organization and simple ceremony, Church advocates cheap according to bourgeois perspective. Several times to Rome, he was acutely aware of the depravity of the Roman Church. Luther vehemently denounced the fraudulent action of the Pope. The year 1517, written a 95 thesis denounce bad things selling indulgences. He called the operation campaigning to finance the rebuilding of the cathedral as the trade confession. The Pope does not have the right to delete any sin, he only can remove the sanctions which he used his authority, or the authority for religious people. And he said that the sale of the card free of guilt is a swindle. To sum up, Luther's protest was spread across Germany. 1520, Pope ordered the retreat allows the information, from the Church, against Luther. Luther threw the edict of Pope on the fire. Making satirical essay treason against God. Suggest German Emperor Saclovy withdrawal of Rome of the Pope and deprived of their land by the Church. And Luther's ideas became the ideological direction of the religious reform movement. The movement to reform the religion spread. Did it break the philosophy basis of the feudal system and ideology? Propaganda, ritual organization advocates simple, less expensive, less time-consuming. Religious reform of Luther bourgeois nature. The limitations in the Reformation of Luther. Must still use theology and religion. And do not win command of the religion that only prevents the corruption act of interference of the Church and the Pope. To sum up, reflecting the weakness of the German bourgeoisie. Reformation spread rapidly, social response. But the religious reforms not yet clearly, weigh participating classes according to different purposes. Nobles and lords had a closed Christian church, occupy the property, increase power rationing. Urban weaken the lords and nobles. The German reunification. Farmers and poor urban reform of the entire society. So, Luther protested. Outbreak of war. The revolutionary spirit of Luther gradually lose. Luther betrayed. And religious reformation in Germany was not conducted thoroughly. From 1525 to 1528, God suffered heavy losses due to the war. United Kingdom occupying most of the assets of the Church. They follow the Catholic Luther front to capture her assets. They became the head of the Church in their territories. Emperor Saclovy remained loyal to Catholicism in Germany should be divided into two factions, the front side and former Catholic faction. In 1529, at the meeting, the former teacher of Speyer denounced religious reform. Christian front were called the Hostiles, Protestants. In 1531, the Catholic organization Schmankaden allied front to fight the former church. In 1546, after the peace with Francis I, as Saclovy pulled 40,000 troops to Spain to Germany. In 1547, Saclovy defeated the Muslim front. The great power of imperial powers make episcopal and former teacher worry. The two factions joined together to resist Saclovy. In 1552, as Saclovy failed completely. In 1555, the two sides signed a peace. Augsburg take out the principle of the landwood faith, Juju's region, ego's religion, and officially recognized the legal status of the new Muslim Luther. The first reform in Zurich by Ulrich Zwingli, 1484–1531, leadership. Coal export from a Mr. Farmer well off in Galen, graduated from the University of Vienna. He taught Latin at the University of Basel. And become clergy in 1506, and in 1518 held in the Church of Zurich. The Killing of Zwingli, by Karl Joslin, 1842–1904. Zwingli statue in front of church in Zurich Wasserkirche. The biography of Jean Calvin. Jean Calvin, 1509–1564, was French. He is the son of a clerk in the court of the Bishop of Noyon in Picardy. He studied theology in the University of Paris. Later, studied law in the University of Orleans and Bourges. The period of study in Paris, he was influenced by Lutheranism. After graduation, he taught literature and writing. In 1534, he became a devotee of the new religion. To avoid the terror of the French government, he to Strasbourg, Germany, and then on to Basel. The year 1536 he went to Geneva. In 1538, by being strongly opposed, the leader of the Reformation in which Calvin had to leave Geneva. The year 1540, the Reform faction prevails, the Ile City invited Calvin to Geneva, the leaders of the religious reform movement. The year 1541 until death, 1546, he became the head of the religion and politics in Geneva. The early 16th century, capitalism in England, Church of God become the force impede that development. Nobles covet the land of the Church. Bourgeoisie wanted cheap church to help pay tribute to expensive Holy Roman. Henry VIII, 1509–1547, wants to divorce his wife Princess Spain Catherine, but the Pope does not agree. In 1534, Henry VIII Supreme Rights Act divorcing does not need the approval of the Pope, cut ties with Roman religion, founded his own church called the Head of the Church of England. To consolidate forces in against the Reformation, the Pope has convened 3 times religion in Torrent, northern Italy, on the 1545–1547, 1551–1552, and 1562–1563. In particular, the decision of the third most important conference contains the following content. Internal corrective. Confirm inherent rules. Request a strictly executive clergy such as celibacy, all buy and sell positions, its part-time mode, a more manageable parishes. Priest School of Management open to fostering more knowledge. Concessions to the Catholic monarchs. Acknowledges the secularization of church property to a number. Acknowledged. Resolutely against the Reformation. Episcopal statement is heresy, not compromise. Religious assertions rights and Christianity is absolutely true. Maintain the worship of images, the shrine of the holy relics, worship, fasting, pilgrimage week, to mode. Confirms Pope has the highest authority in the Church. In addition, the meeting also decided after some Torrent, founded the agency monitors the recently published to establish the index of prohibited books devotees are not allowed to read. Established the Supreme Religious Court in Rome to punish these guys convicted of betraying religion. The Society of Jesus was a spontaneous organization led by a Spanish noble name was Ignacio de Loyola, 1491–1556, founded in Paris in 1534. Biography of Ignacio de Loyola. He is a fanatical sheep. Join the army after the injured cannot continue military service. Loyola determination devoted his life to serve the Lord Jesus and fight against us heresy. After years of theological studies in the University Salamanca, Spain, and the University of Paris, Loyola wrote a book titled His Work Out the Spirit Presents platform organized by the Society of Jesus. In 1540, the Society of Jesus was approved by the Pope, became the stuff of Church of God in the Church's front.